Hey, I'm CJ, and today I'm going to be getting under the covers of Divergent by Veronica Roth. And I got a lot of recommendations to read this book from friends, from Goodreads recommended it to me. Someone at just a random person at Barnes and Noble recommended it to me. So I picked it up and I read it. And well, first of all, Divergent by Veronica Roth. Here's the book again. 489 pages. This is the paperback, and it has 72 pages of bonus material. It has a lot of cool stuff in the bonus material. A question and answer with the author, a discussion guide, a musical playlist, the faction manifestos, quiz questions, and writing tips, and also like 20 pages of the second book in the series called Insurgent. So yeah, here's my review. I'm going to try to make this short because all my reviews are over 10 minutes long. So I'm going to try to cut it down a little bit. It's a dystopian novel, which seems to be pretty popular lately with the Hunger Games and all that. So actually, a lot of people compared the Hunger Games to this, but this book had some elements of the Hunger Games in it. But it also has elements of Harry Potter in it, where you have to choose a faction or a house. And there's also elements of 1984 and Ender's Game in this novel, which I enjoyed because I enjoy those two novels very much. But so a little bit of the background on the plot. It takes place in Chicago, and it's enclosed by a fence, which it's not explained why, and I think maybe Roth will get to that in the second book of the series. I kind of hope she'd get to it in this book because this is the introductory book in a series, I'm assuming, and you kind of want to get all the background information out there right away for the reader. I like that the book is set in Chicago because I live in Illinois. I live about an hour and 20 minutes away from the city, so a lot of the places and a lot of the scenes in this book I could visualize better in my head because I've been there. One of the things I didn't like too much is they go to the Bean, and everyone goes to the Bean when they go to Chicago, and that was kind of obnoxious, but that's just because I live in Illinois and all my friends on Facebook have pictures of them at the Bean. It's the typical, tourist thing to do, suburban tourist thing to do in Illinois, is to go to Chicago and see the Bean. But anyways, I'm straying off point. Their society is divided into 5 factions. I'm only gonna name a couple: the Abnegation and the Dauntless, and I guess the Erudites too. Those are 3. The Candor is the other one, and I don't know the 5th one. But you're born into a faction, and then when you turn 16, you have to choose what faction you want to go in. And there's a lot of parallels between some factions and real life societies, and I thought that was really interesting. Like one of them, the Abnegation, is the one, the main character, her name is Beatrice, later is called Triss. She starts in, and it's very similar to almost like the Amish, like the plain style of dress, and they don't use mirrors, which is an interesting thing I've learned about Amish people. They don't use mirrors that much, and they're very selfless people. She decides to leave them for the Dauntless, who are they're like daredevils and risk takers, and they're like the defenders of the city, which you don't know what they're defending them from. They guard the outside, them from the outside world, but nothing's ever mentioned like what's outside the world. Like, are other cities like this where they're divided into factions? That really wasn't explained very well. And a lot of the story is Triss adapting to the life of the Dauntless and their initiation process. And this is where things get a little weird for me because if you decide not to choose a faction and you go factionless, the factionless are pretty much the homeless. So, but when you if you get if you don't pass your initiation, you become a factionless, which I don't understand because the factionless were kind of a big problem. Like it caused a lot of conflict between the factions. So instead of making people factionless, why wouldn't they just say, oh, well, you don't really have to be initiated. You chose us. You're in. Here's your way of life now, and get used to it. Why just create more of the problem by making people factionless if they don't make initiation? Never. Anyways, um, the book introduces a lot of characters early on, which I don't mind sometimes, but sometimes it's hard to get a feeling for a character when it's like, oh, here's this character, and here's this character, and here's this character. I don't feel like there was enough time to develop characters enough because so many were being introduced and so many were being given larger parts and then smaller parts and then larger. Like they'd come in and out of the plot of the story without much development, I thought, and I think that might be explained more in the second book. I also felt there were some unnecessary deaths in this novel. If you read it, you'll find out why. Maybe you'll find out who dies, and might understand what I mean. So yeah, but this book is pretty good. I enjoyed it. I like to use this analogy. This is how I read it at first. I was like, so yeah, like it starts off slow. It kind of confused me. I got interested again. It slowed down a bit again, and then it just takes you right to the end. And I like that because it wasn't just nonstop action, nonstop story. It's like a bit of a roller coaster, I guess, to use the age old analogy. But yeah, so once again, this is Divergent by Veronica Roth. Um, I want to give it 4 stars, but I really can't because there were some things that really irked me that I don't really want to get into too much because I don't want to spoil it. That's it. I don't want to spoil it. Um, so I'm gonna give it 3 3/4 stars out of 5. Um, just because there's a few things that irked me, and I didn't feel like the background of the society was explained enough. But I did enjoy the story once it started to pick up. Once it got past most of the initiation process. So yeah, 3 3/4 stars out of 5, and I don't know what I don't know what I'm going to be reviewing next, but my next video is not going to be a review. It's kind of something fun I have planned. Well, I think it's fun. You might not. And as I'm doing this, I've noticed that I've hit the 9-minute mark. So I don't know what I'm going to review next. My next video is going to be something fun. There goes my under 10-minute review. So if you read the book and you want to let me know what you think, leave some comments. Comments are cool. If you're not subscribed, subscribing is cool too. And if you like the video, like the video. If you don't, you can dislike it too. I don't think I have any dislikes. So let's see if I can get some dislikes. No, I'm just kidding, because I think they delete your video if there's enough dislikes, right? Who am I talking to? Anyways, okay, Divergent, 3 3/4 out of 5 stars. See you next time. Later.